to be dismissed downstairs for Children's Church. Well, today we are going to be talking about gossip. Fun little thing to talk about. We're still in our series of My Big Fat Mouth. We're finishing up today. Today is the last day in that series. It's been a good one so far, showing sometimes how we don't use our mouths, our words to help lift people up. Sometimes we use our words to help bring people down. And this is our fourth and final week. So far during this series, we've looked at complaining and how that can affect our walk with God and how that can take us away from who we're supposed to be. We talked in the second week about how sometimes we use our words and we're critical, how we criticize, how we use our words to kind of bring people down. And then last week we looked at one and we talked about lying. We talked about how on average each person tells around 4 lies a day. And how we can't meet someone new, usually 60% of us can't meet someone new and not tell a lie within 10 minutes of conversation with that person. And today we're going to be looking at gossip. That's our theme today. But before we jump in and talk about gossip, let's open up with a word of prayer. Our kind and gracious Heavenly Father, we just come to you this morning. And we just come to you and we thank you. We thank you for this place. We thank you for your love. We thank you most of all for your Son, Jesus. Who through him we have this hope. We have this hope of everlasting life. We have this hope of a better life here on this earth. And Lord, I just pray that this morning as we go throughout this message, as we look at what it means to gossip and what gossip does to us, I just pray that we realize, Lord, that our mouths have so much power. That our mouths have so much power that we need to use the power of our words, the power of our tongues for good instead of evil. I just thank you for each and every person in this place today, Lord. Even on a yucky day where it's raining, they chose to come and be in the house of the Lord. And Father, we just ask that your Spirit fill this place and be with us as we go throughout this message. Father, we just thank you. We just ask all these things in your Son Jesus' precious name. Amen. So today we are going to be talking about gossiping. We're going to be talking about gossiping, something that is running rampant in today's society, and it can take hold of us pretty quick. We all know people that gossip. We've all heard gossip. Some of us have a problem ourselves with when we gossip a little too much. You can be in a regular conversation. You can be talking about the weather. You can be talking about what you had for breakfast, and then all of a sudden somebody says, "Did you hear what so-and-so did? Or did you see what so-and-so was wearing in church today?" And all of a sudden we go from talking about the weather to gossiping. But the question is why? Well, why do we do this? Well, why do we think why do we feel the need to gossip? Why do we feel the need to share some things that maybe shouldn't be shared? Well, Proverbs 18:8 tells us, "The words of gossip are like choice morsels. They go down to the inmost parts." And another translation of this verse says that they're like tiny morsels. They go straight to the heart. That's what gossip is like. It's like this tiny morsel that goes straight to who we are. A good example of this is for me, if you were to bring me a bag of peanut butter M&Ms right now. They're these tiny little candies. But if you were to bring them to me, you'd be watching me eat them for the next 25 minutes. Because once I start, I just can't stop. I mean, they're tiny, but they're so good, and they can take hold of me pretty quick. And I can just get stuck there eating these peanut butter M&Ms. And it's like that with gossip. It's like that with gossip. It just takes one little thing of gossip to get us started, and then we can't stop. There are these tiny little morsels, these tiny little phrases, tiny little conversations, but it goes down to our inmost being. It goes straight to our heart, and it can affect our relationship with others. It can affect our relationship with God. And we know this to be true. Some of us have experienced the pain of gossip. Some of us have been stung by gossip. We know that gossip can hurt people. And gossip is so easy to share these days with everybody being connected through social media, through texting, through phones, all these things now. It gets around so quick. And in fact, it's been said that gossip can travel around the world and back before truth gets out of bed and gets its pants on. And that's a true statement. Gossip can travel around the world and back. Gossip can travel from one person to another quicker than the truth can. Gossip has a tendency to get around faster than the truth. And that's sad, but we know it to be true. And we know this, that the more gossip gets spread, the more gossip gets talked about, the less true it gets as it goes. You think about the game telephone. The game telephone you used to play when you were a kid, and you'd line up or you'd sit at your desk at school and somebody would whisper something to the first person, and they'd lean over and they'd whisper it in the ear and go throughout the class. And we'll start at the beginning of the class as Johnny got a new puppy for Christmas. By the time it got to the back of the class, it ended up Johnny slaughtered a puppy on Christmas. How did it go from Johnny got a puppy to Johnny slaughtered a puppy on Christmas? It's because people are unreliable. We hear what we want to. We change the meaning of things, and the same thing goes with gossip. And then people think, well, gossip is something that you only deal with when you're in school. Gossip is something that you deal with when you're a child. It's not a modern day problem. But we know that not to be true. Gossip affects so many of us in our adult lives. Gossip consumes so many of our conversations. Gossip can cause you to lose a friendship. Gossip can cause you to lose a family member. Gossip even has caused people to leave the church and walk away from God. Gossip is powerful. Our words are powerful. But gossip's hard to see. Much like we talked about in week 2 when we talked about criticizing, how when you look in the mirror, it's hard to see that you're being critical. It's hard to see that you're using your words to criticize, and the same thing goes with gossip. When you're looking at your life and you're evaluating the words you speak, most of the time you don't even notice you're gossiping. Because it's just kind of snuck into our brains, kind of snuck into our society. The society is acceptable. And many times we know we're doing it. So it's hard for us to see. But when we really take a deep look at our lives, really take a deep look at how we're using our words, we realize that we are using them for gossip. And sometimes we even disguise gossip. Sometimes we can disguise it to make it look like it's not gossip. And one of my favorite examples of this is sometimes we'll disguise gossip as a prayer request. I know what you're thinking. How does that work? Well, you start out by saying, hey, we need to pray for Michael and his marriage. And then you elaborate a little. You say, well, we need to pray for Michael and his marriage because he's been working late a lot. And he's been working late, and when he's working late, there's also this new lady there who just started a couple weeks ago. And I don't know how trustworthy she is, so we just need to pray for both their marriages because I don't think that they're actually working late. What are we doing with that prayer request? Well, what are we doing praying for Michael's marriage when we have no idea what's going on? Michael could just be working late. Or we'll say things like, we need to pray for John. We need to pray for John because we know he has this alcohol problem, and I drove by and I think, that's the key word, I think I saw his car at the liquor store. Now the whole church is praying for John, and John's car wasn't even there. We gossip. Sometimes we gossip. We may even intend to be doing good, but instead we're doing harm. So what's going to happen is Michael's going to be walking around town, and somebody's going to be saying, hey, I hear you're working late with this woman, and I just hope that your wife doesn't find out. And Michael looks like, what are you talking about? Well, what are you talking about? I'm in my office. I'm actually working late. Or John, he's over there, and somebody goes, hey, I'm sorry that you're getting back into your alcohol habit. He's like, what are you talking about? I haven't drank in months. See, gossip can hurt. Gossip can hurt people. Even when because somebody's trying to heal, somebody's trying to get better from their alcohol problem, somebody's trying to get better from an addiction, all of a sudden you go up to them and say, hey, I hear you're struggling with this. It can actually cause them to backslide a little bit. Another thing about gossip is people say, well, it's true. It's true. I'm here to tell you, not everything that is true has to be said. Not everything is true has to be said. Some things just need to be kept to yourself. Just because you know somebody's secrets, just because somebody has confided in you, just because somebody has told you something, doesn't mean you need to tell your book club. Doesn't mean you need to tell your neighbor. Doesn't mean you need to tell your friends. Some people just want things to stay between you and them. Gossip hurts. Gossip hurts. There's power with our words. There's power with our mouth. And we can use our mouth for good, or we can use our mouth for evil. We can use it to speak life into others, or we can use it to speak death into others, the Bible tells us. So what do you want to be known for? What do you want to be known for? Do you want to be known for lifting people up, for sharing and encouraging them, or do you want to be known for putting them down? And for speaking death into their life and making them feel less like a person? Well, hopefully the answer is obvious. We all want to be known for speaking life. Hopefully none of us want to be known for hurting others intentionally. But gossip does. Gossip hurts people. So who can gossip hurt? Who can gossip hurt? That's the question. Who can gossip hurt? And today I'm going to share 3 different groups of people, 3 different types of people that gossip can hurt. And the first one is going to be the most obvious. Gossip hurts the person it's spoken about. Gossip hurts the person that's spoken about. Whoever the subject matter of that gossip is, that's who gossip hurts. So if we look at the example of Michael working on it, who's that gossip going to hurt? That's going to hurt Michael. If we look at the example of John at the liquor store, that's going to hurt John. Gossip hurts the person it's spoken about. Proverbs 16:28. A perverse person stirs up conflict, and a gossip separates close friends. A perverse person stirs up this conflict. A perverse person goes around trying to create conflict. That's what gossip does. Gossip creates a conflict. Gossip creates these lies. Gossip creates these things that go around and make you think less of a person. And it says that gossip can separate close friends. And some of you know this to be true. Some of you have had a relationship severed because of gossip. Some of you have lost friends because of gossip. Some of you aren't talking to family members because of gossip. Some people have left this church probably because of gossip. Some people have left other churches because of gossip. Gossip hurts the person that it's spoken about. Gossip hurts the person that's spoken about. Gossip also hurts the listener. Gossip also hurts the listener. And I know what you're thinking. How can it hurt the person that's listening to it? They're just listening. They're just sitting there being passive, just listening to what is coming out of the person who's speaking its mouth. But gossip does hurt the listener. And Proverbs tells us, Proverbs 17:4, a wicked person listens to deceitful lips. A liar pays attention to a destructive tongue. I just want you to stop and think about that for a minute. If you hear gossip, if you listen to gossip, you're a wicked person because you listen to deceitful lips. Another version of this verse says, a wrongdoer. A wrongdoer listens to gossip, which simply means you are wrong to listen to gossip. Listening to gossip is wrong, and it can hurt the listener because you're listening to this. Because if you think about it, if you let the person that's gossiping, if you let them put down a friend, if you let them put down your family member, if you let them even put down somebody that you're acquainted with, you're in action of not stopping them. You're in action of doing nothing. You're in action of passively sitting there listening to them. Is it encouraging their behavior? And it's encouraging the gossip to spread. It's encouraging the gossip to go on. And if you think for a moment that when you walk away and you're done listening to this person, that they're not going to turn around and start gossiping about you, then you're foolish. See, gossiping, listening to gossip hurts the listener. It hurts the listener because now you know this thing, and now you're going to want to go out and share this thing. It hurts the listener. We cannot stand there and listen to gossip. We can't sit there because it hurts the listener. It's wrong to listen to gossip. And the third person it hurts the speaker. It hurts the speaker. It hurts the person that is doing the talking. And again, you're probably thinking, I understand that it can hurt the person that's spoken about. Okay, I get how it can hurt the listener. But how in the world does it hurt the person who is speaking the gospel? Proverbs 25, verse 9 and 10. When arguing with your neighbor, don't betray another person's secrets. Because once you betray someone else's secret, others may accuse you of gossip, and you may never regain your good reputation. Once you're known for gossip, once you're known for going around and spreading these things, people are going to eventually stop associating with you. People are eventually not going to want to be your friends. You'll eventually not going to want to talk to you because they know some of the things that come out of your mouth are not true. No one wants to be like a gossip. No one wakes up in the morning and says, I want to go out and intentionally hurt someone's feelings. I want to go out and spread something that's not true. Nobody wants to be like that. When I sit and I listen to somebody who gossips over and over and over again, the first thing I think of is, man, this person has constipation of the mind and diarrhea of the mouth. They have constipation of the mind and diarrhea of the mouth. They're not stopping to think how their words are going to hurt. They're not stopping to think how sharing this could impact someone else's life. They're just letting whatever's in their head spew straight out of their mouth. And once I get past this thought, then they just keep gossiping. I'll stop and wonder, what do they say about me when I'm not around? Well, what do they say about me when I'm not around? And as I continue going through these questions, I continue listening to this person gossip, I just start to lose trust in them. I start to realize I don't want to associate with them. And then another thing I think is I better be careful what I say. I better be careful what I say because I don't know where it's going to end up. And that's one of the worst places to be. When you're looking for someone to confide in, when you're looking for someone to talk to, when you're looking for someone to share with, you don't want to sit there thinking, I wonder where this is going to end up. I better be careful what I say. Gossip hurts the one that's spoken about. Gossip hurts the listener. Gossip hurts the one who it's spoken about. So what can we sum up from that? Gossip hurts everyone. Nobody is safe from gossip. Gossip hurts everyone involved. Gossip is wrong. So if gossip is wrong, our goal should be not to gossip. Well, how do we do that? How do we do that? How do we control gossip in our lives? How do we control gossip in our relationships? How do we control gossip? Well, we're going to talk about two things. And these two things, I hope that they're very easy for you to put into practice. I hope when you leave this church today that you can think, man, I can actually do this in my life to help curb gossip from happening, to help curb gossip from coming out of my mouth. And the first thing that we need to do is we need to guard our ears. You need to guard your ears. There was a psychology magazine that came out with this study. And their study was this: we can stop most gossip by asking one simple question. You can stop most gossip by asking one simple question. And here's the question they came up with. By asking this question, when somebody starts to gossip, you ask them this question, it says it'll usually stop the gossip. And the question is this: why are you telling me this? Why are you telling me this? So someone starts to tell you about Michael working later, about John's car at the liquor store, and you look at him and you say, why are you telling me this? Why are you telling me this? And the psychology magazine says that this works because it makes the person who is speaking stop. And they think, well, why am I telling this? Is this important? Does this person really need to know this? And most of the time, they said they will stop telling you. Now, when you're asking this question, you don't have to get all sassy about it. You don't have to get all defensive about it and get angry when you ask, why are you telling me this? You just ask them. Some of you think, well, that's a good question, but that's a little too combative for my personality. That's a little too upfront. That's a little too confrontational. I don't want to just simply ask, why are you telling me this? So a softer approach, a softer question is this: have you had a chance to talk to so-and-so about it? Have you had a chance to talk to Michael about why he's working? Have you had a chance to talk to John as to why you possibly saw his car at the liquor store? And when you ask this question, 98% of the time, the person is going to say, well, no, I haven't talked to them. And that's when we can say, well, maybe you should. Maybe you should. And you may be thinking, man, Dustin, that's really good advice. You're a really smart guy. And you'd be correct. But in fact, I got this from Matthew 18:15. If your brother or sister sins, go and point out their fault. Now, some of us want to stop reading right there. If your brother or sister sins, go point out their fault, but it says just between the two of you. So someone has fault. If you have some gossip in your head about somebody, before you spread it around, before you think you need to tell somebody, you need to go and talk to that person. That's where that question comes from. It comes straight out of Scripture. Well, what if you ask the person, why are you telling me this? Or you ask the person, have you had a chance to talk to so-and-so, but they just won't stop gossiping. You've tried to control it, you've tried not to listen, but they just will not stop. What do? Well, sometimes you have to distance yourself from that person. Sometimes you're going to have to distance yourself from that relationship. Sometimes you may have to completely cut off that relationship. You may have to sever that relationship because you don't need that kind of negativity. You don't need those kind of people in your life. It's pretty harsh, I know. But it's scriptural as well. Proverbs 20:19. A gossip betrays all confidence, so avoid anyone who talks too much. So they just won't stop. After you've tried not to listen, after you've tried to get them to stop, they just won't. Sometimes you're going to have to put a distance between you and that person. You have to avoid anyone who will not stop, anyone who does not stop gossiping. Sometimes we have to cut off those relationships. And that's hard to do. That's hard to do, but sometimes it's necessary. Sometimes it's necessary. So the first thing we have to do is we have to guard our ears. The second thing is, sometimes you just have to close your mouth. And that's a little blunt, but I'm a blunt guy. Sometimes you just have to close your mouth. Sometimes you have to realize, I don't need to say that. I need to keep my mouth closed. And we're going to learn a verse together today. I'm going to read it to you, and then you're going to read it all together. Because this is a verse I want us to grasp. This is a verse I think that can help us so many times in our lives. We think, oh, I have to say that. And the verse is this. Proverbs 21:23. Watch your tongue and keep your mouth shut, and you will stay out of trouble. Watch your tongue, and keep your mouth shut, and you will stay out of trouble. This is a verse I want you to memorize today. So, we're going to read it together. Okay? Crowd participation. I'll start and you follow along. You ready? Watch your tongue and keep your mouth shut, and you will stay out of trouble. How many of us know this to be true? How many of us have told your kids this? Well, if you would have just kept your mouth shut, you wouldn't be in timeout right now. If you would have just kept your mouth shut, I wouldn't have spanked your butt. How many of us in our adult lives know this to be true? We'll say something at work and we'll get home, we'll tell our spouse, I would have just kept my mouth shut. If I wouldn't have said that, I wouldn't have hurt so-and-so's feeling. So we have to guard our ears, and sometimes we have to close our mouth. Before you say something, before you speak something about someone else, you need to ask yourself a question. And the question is, would I want this said about me? Would I want this said about me? And this goes back to the famous scripture of Luke 6:31. Do to others, you would have them do to you. Before you talk, before you share something, before you tell a story to someone about a friend, stop and think, would I want them telling this about me? Would I want this being shared about me? Gossip is hard. We've all done it. We've all been guilty of it. Maybe we're walking through Walmart. Walmart's a place where a lot of gossip happens. And you're walking through Walmart and you see somebody. You see them walking towards you and they don't have an outfit on that should be in Walmart. We've all seen them. And they come walking towards you, and as they get closer, you realize they smell. You're thinking, oh man. And then you look in their cart, they just have not very much. And it's just a bunch of odd things. And as they walk by, you realize they only have one shoe on. I'm thinking, who comes to Walmart with one shoe? So as they walk towards you, you're staring them down, and then as they walk past, you push your cart, you give them one of these. And then you just keep shopping. But then when you get home, you're sitting around, and you're having dinner, you're watching TV with somebody, and you guess what I saw at Walmart today? I saw this person, and they smelled to high heaven. And they didn't have decent clothes on, and they had just a bunch of weird stuff in their cart. You think, I know that they had time to take a shower this morning. Those are probably the kind of people that I'm working to support. And then the stuff in their cart, I just don't understand it. They didn't even need a cart, they had so few items. And oh, if you would have saw her outfit. I mean, I've seen nicer things pulled out of the garbage sack. I've seen nicer things that look like roadkill beside than what she had on. And we continue to gossip, we continue to share these things. And then our friend calls, and guess what we say? Guess what I saw at Walmart? I saw this person. Oh man, they smell. And we share it. We continue to make up these stories about this person. Well, I don't think they've worked a day in their life. I mean, there's no possible way they have running water at their house because they smell. They just don't even care what other people think. But the thing that we don't stop and do is we don't stop and think. Maybe that's the only outfit that person has. Maybe the stuff that was in their cart, maybe the only way they could pay for those few items is because they just gathered up cans around town. Maybe they smell because they don't actually have access to running water. Maybe the one shoe they had on, that's the only thing that they had. We don't stop and think about that. No, we go straight to the gospel. We go straight to the things that will make our friends laugh. We go straight to the things that come to our mind. We go straight to the things that anytime anybody looks a little disheveled, anytime anybody looks a little like they don't have it all together, we automatically think the worst of them. Instead of reaching out and saying, how can we help you? Is there anything I can do for you? We didn't even try to start a conversation with that person because they looked different, because they smelled different, because they weren't like us. No, we decided just to gossip about them. And it's a problem. It's a problem. And we're all guilty of it. Nobody is free from gossip. But the problem with this whole series of My Big Fat Mouth, the problem with complaining, the problem with criticizing, the problem with lying, the problem with gossip is not just our mouths. No, it's also our sin-stained heart. It's also our sin-stained heart because our hearts are sinful. We're a sinful people. We're a sinful people. But Luke 6:45 tells us this. It says, for the mouth speaks what the heart is full of. For the mouth speaks what the heart is full of, or out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. So whatever our heart is full of, whatever is overflowing from our heart, that is what our mouth is speaking. You see, gossip teaches us that I am strong, but they are weak. I am strong, but they are weak. Because I'm so much better, because I'm so much stronger, because I'm so much more important, I can gossip about them because they are weak. Out of the overflow of the mouth, out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. But what should our heart be full of? Our heart should be full of the gospel message which says, I am weak, he is strong. I am weak. We are the weak ones, and because of God, He who being the strong one, we should be able to overcome this problem of gossip. We should be able to overcome the problem of complaining, criticizing, and lying. But we go back to Luke 6:45, and I think, what is our heart full of? Well, your heart is full of what your mouth is saying. So if you're speaking gossip, if you're speaking lies, if you're speaking criticism, if you're complaining all the time, that's what your heart is full of. You see, you might know the gospel, you might be a Christian, you might be following Jesus, but you haven't let that message impact your life. You haven't let that gospel message transform your heart. Because if that gospel message truly got a hold of you, if that gospel message truly hit you, that gospel message has truly transformed your heart, we'd be speaking the truth. We'd be proclaiming the gospel message. Now, yes, occasionally we'll still slip. Occasionally, even in our strongest, we're still going to fall. But if you're continually gossiping, if you're continually complaining, if you're continually criticizing, if you're continually lying, you have to look and think, where is my heart? We have to realize that we are weak and He is strong. We have to realize that Jesus has promised us so many things, that Jesus has said, I have a plan for you. I have a plan for you. And His plan for us is not to walk around gossiping. His plan for us is not to walk around complaining. His plan for us is not to walk around and use our mouth for bad things. Now, we're to go forth. We're to go forth and spread the good news of Jesus. We're to go forth and spread this gospel message. So if you're thinking, if you're looking at your life, if you're looking at the way that you speak, and you're thinking, man, I have a problem. I have a problem with the way I speak. I have a problem with the words that are coming out of my mouth. You need to look at your heart and think, have I truly let the gospel message impact me? Have I truly let the biblical teachings impact my life? Have I truly let the Holy Spirit come in and change my heart? Or am I still being worldly? Am I still just trying to fit into the people around me? Am I still just trying to do what culture says is okay? We've got to be impacted by the gospel message of Jesus. We've got to let it transform our lives. And once we let it transform our lives, once we let it indwell us, once we use it, once we're in the Word more, once we spend time more with other believers, you'll notice that your heart starts to change. And when your heart starts to change, you'll notice that your words start to change as well. When we begin to recognize, when we begin to understand who Jesus is, that when we begin to understand that Jesus is the way, that Jesus is the truth, that Jesus is the life, and when we begin to understand that no one comes to the Father except through Jesus, when we begin to understand that only Jesus can make our life better, we begin to understand that it's only through Jesus that we have the power to do anything. When we realize this, when we realize that He brings life, we realize that He is the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, when we realize this, when we realize that He is greater than us, when we put ourselves below Him, what happens is all of a sudden, our words begin to emulate those of Jesus. Our words begin to match up with the teachings of the Bible. Our words begin to speak life into people. Our words begin to encourage instead of hurt. We need to be renewed. We need to be transformed. We need to let our hearts become out of this world and become of God. Gossip claims, I am strong and they are weak. But the gospel will claim, I am weak, but He is strong. I'm weak, but He is strong. So this morning, as we finish this series of My Big Fat Mountain, I just want you to stop and think. I just want you to stop and think, are the words I'm using, am I using them to build life? Am I using them to speak encouragement to others? Because what would it look like? What would it look like instead of being caught in gossip? Instead of being caught gossiping about somebody, if you were caught encouraging, if you were caught saying, Brenda, I thank you for the prayers for me. I thank you for how your life emulates Jesus. I thank you that when I look at you, I can see that you're building people up. And thank you for that. You're really a blessing to me. How much more encouraging is that than going over to your friend and saying, do you know what Brenda did yesterday? I saw her out and she did this. Our words have power. Our mouths have power. Our tongues have power to bring life and death to those around us. We have the power. We have the power to emulate our Father. We have the power to emulate Jesus with our words and to speak life and encouragement into others. The choice is yours. The choice is yours. Are you going to be encouraging in your speech? Or are you going to continue to be negative and bring others down? Let us pray. Father God, we just thank you. We thank you for the teaching, God. We thank you that even though we are weak in the flesh, even though we are sinful people, through your Son Jesus, we are saved. Through your Son Jesus, all that is washed away. Through your Son Jesus, we have the ability to have a transformed heart. We have the ability to get into your word, to spend time with you, to fellowship with other Christians, and to hopefully start speaking the truth and encouragement that we need to. Father, I just ask that you just help us this week. Help us as we go throughout this week to really look at the words we say. To really look at how we're using our mouths. To really look at if we're being encouragers or not. And if we're not, to stop and to evaluate where our heart's at. To evaluate where our heart's at, to evaluate if we are truly been transformed by the gospel message. Help us to be the people that you've called us to be. Help us to be the ones who serve you with all of our heart, mind, soul, and strength. We just thank you for this day. We ask all these things in your Son Jesus' precious name. Amen.